This is the only woman in history who gave Henry VIII what he wanted most. Yet he didn't hesitate to let her die for it. But why did he let her die? Let's find out in today's episode. The year was 1536, and England was in chaos. After 23 years of marriage, Henry VIII's marriage to Catherine of Aragon had ended in divorce, and soon he would marry Anne Boleyn, the woman who had captivated him and become his obsession. But while Henry was infatuated with Anne, she was not the kind of woman he envisioned as his queen. She was outspoken, headstrong, and hot-tempered, a far cry from the demure, submissive women he had been used to. And he often found himself frustrated by her unwillingness to play the role he had cast for her. Meanwhile, there was a young woman named Jane Seymour who caught the king's eye. She was the complete opposite of Anne. She was beautiful without being ostentatious, intelligent without being opinionated, and most importantly, she was quiet and submissive. Henry saw in Jane the kind of woman he truly wanted as his queen, someone who would do as he said and not question his authority. And so he began to court her in secret, hoping that she would become his new wife. As Henry's infatuation with Jane grew, his marriage to Anne began to crumble. She had failed to produce a male heir, and he was growing impatient. He started sending Jane gifts and love letters, which only fueled rumors of his infidelity. Eventually, he decided to end his marriage to Anne and marry Jane instead, and was executed on May 19, 1536. And just 11 days later, on May, Henry married Jane Seymour in a secret ceremony at Surmise Palace. The wedding was kept a secret for several weeks until Henry was ready to announce it to the public. When the news broke, there was scandal throughout the kingdom. How could the king marry so soon after his divorce from Anne? And what was the relationship between Jane and Henry? The gossip spread like wildfire, and everyone was eager to know more. But despite the scandal, Henry was determined to make Jane his queen. He had fallen in love with her quiet and submissive nature and believed that she was the perfect woman for the job. And indeed, she proved to be a dutiful and obedient wife. She gave Henry everything he wanted and never questioned his authority. And the people of England loved her for it. They saw her as a meek and gentle soul who was being taken advantage of by the powerful king, and they were eager to protect her from any harm. However, Henry had married Jane for a very specific reason, and that was to produce a male heir. He had been trying to secure a son for many years, and Jane was his best hope. The pressure was immense, and Henry was desperate. He believed that a son would secure the Tudor dynasty and bring stability to the kingdom, and he was willing to do anything to make it happen. In the spring of 1537, the country was in a frenzy. The queen was pregnant, and the entire kingdom was celebrating. It was a national event, and everyone was eager to know the sex of the baby. Would it be a boy or a girl? The pressure was on, and Jane knew that she had to deliver. The fate of the Tudor dynasty rested on her shoulders, and she was determined to succeed. The pregnancy was difficult, and Jane suffered through morning sickness and other complications. But she never complained. She was determined to bring Henry the son he so desperately wanted. Finally, the day arrived when she was ready to give birth. The entire kingdom was watching, and Jane knew that she had to perform. The delivery lasted 2 days, and it was a grueling ordeal. But finally, on October 12th, 1537, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The child was perfect, and Henry was overjoyed. He had finally gotten the son he had always wanted, and he was not afraid to show it. He held the baby in his arms and beamed with pride. The entire kingdom erupted in celebration. There were fireworks and bonfires, and people danced in the streets. For days, the festivities continued, and everyone was happy. Henry had an heir, and the future of the Tudor dynasty was secure. Jane had done her duty, and she was exhausted. She had brought Henry the son he wanted, and now she needed to rest. But she knew that she could not relax just yet. She had to make sure that the baby was healthy and that he would live a long life. Jane was a devoted mother, and she took her duty very seriously. She knew that she had to do everything she could to ensure the health and well-being of her son. However, as the weeks passed, Jane began to feel ill. She had delivered a healthy baby boy, but now she was paying the price. She was suffering from a fever and other complications that are now known to be caused by bacteria. Childbed fever was common in the 16th century, and it was a leading cause of death for women who had recently given birth. But Jane was the queen, and she had access to the best medical care that England had to offer. The doctors were baffled, and they were unable to diagnose her illness. As her condition worsened, they tried everything they could to save her life, but nothing worked. There is a popular legend that claims that Henry was given a choice to save either his wife or his son, and he chose the boy. This is a fictional addition to the story and is not supported by historical evidence. While it makes for a dramatic tale, it is important to separate fact from fiction. On October 24th, 1537, Jane Seymour died. She had been ill for only a few days, but she had fought bravely and never gave up hope. In the end, it was not her fault that she died. She had done her duty and given Henry the son he wanted. But the delivery had taken a toll on her body, and the childbed fever was too strong to overcome. Henry was devastated when he heard the news. He had loved Jane from the first moment he had seen her, and he had married her because he believed she was the perfect woman for him. He had not wanted to marry anyone else, and he had been looking forward to spending the rest of his life with Jane. But now she was gone, and he felt as though a part of him had died along with her. He mourned the loss of his beloved wife, and he did everything he could to honor her memory. One of the things Henry did was to have Jane buried with full Queen's honors in St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. This was a rare honor, and it was a testament to how much Henry had loved Jane. He had chosen to bury her with all of the respect and dignity that was due to a queen, and he had made sure that her grave was marked with a beautiful monument. In a profound final statement about his affection for her, he chose to be buried beside Jane, the only one of his 6 wives with whom he shares a final resting place. Her death created a profound problem for Henry. He was now left with an infant heir and no queen, restarting his search for a new wife. Jane Seymour's legacy is a tragic one. She was the one queen who gave Henry everything he wanted, and was rewarded with a terrifying death that was a direct result of her success. Her life is a poignant reminder of the high price of royal duty and the brutal realities of childbirth in the medieval period. Her story is a perfect example of how a woman's worth in the 16th century was tragically tied to her ability to produce a male heir, even if it cost her her life. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and comment below to get more videos like this. See you next time.